So for those of you who don't know, my name is Dr. Carl Marci. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Innerscope Research, and I'm really excited about this panel because we have an opportunity to really share in a different way than we normally do. Typically, when we get up on stage, we want to talk about case studies and results. Today, what I thought we'd do is talk about process. And by process, I mean, can we get real practitioners to come up and tell us a little bit about what they do and how they've used biometrics and unconscious emotional response to really enhance their research process. So that's number one. Number two, the other thing that I'm excited about is that we've got clients from a diverse group of companies. Everything from the media side of things to apparel to fast-moving consumer goods to online financial services. And that, I think, really reflects the kind of flexibility and ability to use this technology across a whole bunch of platforms for a bunch of different questions and problems. And we think that's really important. And then thirdly, what I love about this panel is that they really represent clients at different stages of development. With Stacy and Turner, we've been working now for over 3 years. We've done a bunch of different projects, and we're really beginning to integrate in different ways the way we work, all the way through to Libby here, who just finished her first project. And I think is really coming out with in a big way as she'll talk to you in a moment. So with that, let me introduce our panel. In order, hopefully they're sitting in order. We have Sebastian Leone. He's the Global Consumer and Market Insight Director for Mars Pet Care. Mars, as a lot of people know, is a real leader in the research industry, and we're very excited to have Sebastian join us today. Next to Sebastian is Stacy. She's a Senior Vice President at Turner Broadcasting. And next to her is Maria Scott, who's a Senior Manager at Intuit. And then finally, Libby Nooner, who is the Global Director of Marketing for Ready-to-Wear at Invista, the makers of Lycra. So with that, I'm going to start with our first question. And what I'd like the panelists to do is sort of go a little bit beyond my sort of name and title introduction. Tell us a little bit about sort of your role in your company, and then really about the journey that you took to end up working with biometrics and unconscious emotions. I'll start with Sebastian, if that's okay.
Okay, so in fact, I used to be responsible for an initiative we have at Mars, which is a marketing lab. So we want to have more connections with the academic world, and we have engaged a series of initiatives, and one was about the new techniques for understanding communication. And it's fair to say that everything which is about cognitive science was not very new. We have been trained about that for decades, and we had the model, and we also were able to test sometimes with fMRI. Okay, so that's something I shared here, I think, last year. The problem has always been the same, is how we can have something which is less intrusive and which is something we can import in different contexts and environment. One can be advertising, one can be shopper research, and one can be, for instance, packaging. And I think this is really the tipping point. You brought with some other companies in this industry that we have now some devices that we can wear on ourselves. And even I remember our first talk, it was some kind of a bulletproof
Yes.
on your body. Now it's nearly something invisible. We were not able to see your monitoring except the finger. So I think it's really a revolution we have seen in this corporation about being able to test something which was a missing part of our advertising model. Okay, so our advertising model is basically for any type of ad to be noticed, to be remembered, and to be acted upon. And most of the copy testing we have used for years are very good at predicting success based on being remembered and being acted upon. Okay, the missing piece was really the diagnostic part based on the emotion we can generate. So one example, and I will finish with that, is for instance, what's the consequence of showing an eating sequence We are in the food business, and as you can imagine, showing an eating sequence with chocolate doesn't generate the same consumer response as showing an eating sequence for a pet, a dog or a cat. So knowing this has been a fantastic enabler for us to generate the right set of evaluations.
Great. Stacy, how about you?
Well, we started working with you about 3 years ago. I work for Turner Broadcasting, and I do sales research. And about that time, we were developing a product called TV in Context. And it was a way for us to take a look at our vast movie library and identify scenes that would be relevant for certain advertisers, whether or not a product was actually pictured or mentioned versus the attributes of that product might have been showcased in the scene, or maybe just, it was the right category of references. And we were able to meta tag and create this library of content that we then wanted to sell to advertisers. And we knew from doing academic research that this should work based on the principles of priming, that we would introduce the idea through showing them these different scenes and these different contexts, and then having the advertisement follow several minutes after the scene should have an effect. But we were really at a loss for how to measure that with traditional methods, because we all know that people don't exactly do what they say they do. And so this seemed like a perfect opportunity to explore. Turner is a very innovative company. We like to look at new methods, and that's why we got together with Carl and worked with Innerscope on that, and it's been a very effective relationship for us.
And how did that research relate to the way you were thinking about approaching it originally? When you first started out, you didn't even know Innerscope existed, right? No,
we didn't know that Innerscope existed. And in fact, we had looked at doing it in a very traditional way, doing survey research, and we did the survey research. And we got some mixed results initially, because we couldn't expect that people were going to tell us that they actually understood that they were being impacted by the contextual scene. And we needed a different measure, a different way to get at whether or not they were having some response to that contextual content. And it really was, and we actually went and presented our research in Berlin together, but it was the way for us to prove out that even with traditional methods, it can only take you so far. You do have to explore new ways to understand how people are making choices, how people are experiencing content. And frankly, I think in this world that we're in, where everything is changing, where there's more and more choice, either for the consumer to choose between different products on the shelf, or in the media world where they're choosing between any number of different channels at their disposal, the more that we understand about why people make choices and what kinds of stimuli are influencing them, the better we're all going to be at communicating with them.
Great. So Sebastian was sort of recognizing that one of the missing tools in their toolbox, so to say, was how to measure emotions moment to moment for diagnostic clarity. Stacy's team set out to create really a revolutionary product with TV in Context, but was struggling for how to measure its effectiveness and turn to biometrics. Now we're going to change gears even more. Maria, tell us about some of the work Intuit's been doing with Innerscope.
I'm Maria. I'm from Intuit, and so you know us as TurboTax. I do all the advertising and brand research for the brand, and we have quite a lot of rigorous testing around our advertising for TurboTax, and a lot of that testing, a lot of the measures that we get from that are the very conscious kinds of measures, whether people think it's believable or they remember it, and those kinds of measures. So we were really after trying to really understand if people were engaging with our ads. We wanted to engage with our customers on a more emotional level, which with taxes is a little difficult to do. So we really wanted to see if we can get even deeper insights to help us optimize our ads. So we met the Innerscope folks at a conference similar to this, and we're very, intrigued buy it. And so we tested it out at first on some website research that we did last year and had a lot of success there, and it gave us a lot of confidence then to go and use it with our advertising research.
Great. And now the sort of new client, so to speak. Libby, why don't you tell us a little bit about the work we're doing and you know, also talk about how you're promoting it.
Okay. My name is Libby Nooner. I'm the Global Marketing Director for the Lycra brand in ready-to-wear. And ready-to-wear is, for those of you that are not in the fashion business, is everything you're wearing outside that you can see today. So it's jackets, it's pants, it's jeans, it's t-shirts, etc. And we have been doing traditional market research for many, many years, like everyone else, using it for anything from product and positioning research, as well as doing global brand tracking studies that told us about comparing the equity of our brand from year to year. And our core target, or our target market, was very broad. It was 18 to 49. The other segments in our business, which are swimwear, intimate apparel, legwear, and activewear, are much different than the ready-to-wear business. They're very functionally oriented, and they provide benefits that are very obvious to consumers. In ready-to-wear, we believe that there are much different purchase drivers than there are in the other segments of our business. So we felt we really needed to probe more deeply into those purchase drivers that we had identified to be more emotional than functional. And added to that, we were targeting a younger audience, 18 to 35 with a core of 25 to 30. And we believe we needed to communicate with them much differently than we were communicating to the older portion of our target audience. So we identified the fact that we needed to have a new brand for ready-to-wear, and we used traditional market research to determine the right brand and some initial concept and positioning. But then when we really looked at the rest of the work that we needed to do, we understood that we really needed to dig deeper, dive deeper into the subconscious response to the brand and to the benefits. We were introduced to Innerscope by one of our individuals in our organization that goes out and looks for innovative products or services. And we thought this was a perfect opportunity to take advantage of this sort of market research to tap into a new customer and really look at the emotional aspects versus the functional aspects of our brand benefits.
Great. So the theme here is sort of you know, running into the need for something different, and also to maybe go beyond what the type of measures and data you were getting from other places.